Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. If you're catching this live, I thank you. If you're catching the replay, of course, I thank you as well. As always, I always acknowledge your time. I know that your time can be invested in any place that you choose to invest it. Any opportunity that I have to acknowledge your time and thank you for being on here with me. I value your time, I acknowledge your time, and I just want to spend a few minutes and share some things that are on my heart this morning. My intention with these videos is very, very simple. I was taught a long time ago that you're going to learn two things every single day. We're going to learn what to do and what not to do. My entire life has been spent a lot of time learning what not to do. So I'd love to take these opportunities that I can when I get inspired. If you notice, I don't do these things from notes. I just go with what's on my heart, and then I just share what's there for me. This morning I was inspired to share a little bit about the power of perception and what's going on in our minds and how our minds actually work and how this occurs in the real world for us. As a matter of fact, I was just having a conversation this morning with a friend that really solidified the importance of this live for me today. This friend is a former running partner. We used to run quite a bit together. And in the beginning of our running, she absolutely destroyed me for the first month. For the first month, I could not catch up to her. I was upset about it. She was beating me. I was a former United States Marine. I couldn't understand how she was doing it. But after the first month and I got in shape, I don't recall ever losing again. Why do I bring that up? When we were having the conversation today, she does not recall a single time that I ever beat her. And I don't recall a single time that she ever beat me after the first month. So the point is the power of perception. How we see the world is by far the most important thing. So I wanted to just spend a couple of moments to actually invite you to look at how these perceptions were put in place in the beginning. Because if you notice, our minds don't really need us anymore. You don't consciously think about your heart beating. You don't consciously think about breathing. You don't consciously think about blinking. These are subconscious behaviors that are already in place for us. So if you look back to the times when we were babies, we were in the crib, and all of a sudden we were hungry. We didn't even know what hungry was, but we figured out how to make a noise, and that noise got us fed. And then we figured out, oh, okay, so every time I'm hungry, I just have to make this noise. And then we were wet. And we needed to be changed, and we figured out how to make a different noise. And then that became the noise that we can make to get changed. And then we figured out another way to get hugs from mom and dad. So in essence, what ends up happening is our minds figure out how to survive the world. Our minds are not built to thrive. They are built to survive. So all of a sudden, these perceptions start getting put in place. How are they happening? If I asked you how you became who you are today, things you'd say are, I became this way by my parents, or my friends, or my school teachers, or the people around me, or the television. All these perceptions of the world are given to us, and then all of a sudden we accept them as truth, and then we live our life based on these perceptions. The problem is that we have these perceptions about ourselves. We think, I'm never going to get in shape, or I'm never going to be financially successful, or I'm never going to get the job that I want, or I'm never going to be in the relationship that I want. All of a sudden, life becomes like Groundhog Day. Have you ever found yourself asking yourself this question, why does this keep happening to me? It keeps happening to you because your perception is out there in the world, and then we live into that perception as if it were the truth. So to give you some examples of myself, I've always had this perception about money, that money brings problems. I don't know where I got it. I realize now that I have it. The most important part is that I'm able to actually analyze my life and realize these things. Once upon a time it was said, the unanalyzed life is not worth living. So be able to look, and this is my invitation to you today, start to look at and take responsibility for the perceptions that you've created for yourself. How you see the world is how the world is. There is no independent view of the world based on other than the way that you see it. I cannot tell you that the sky is red if you believe that the sky is blue. To give you a perfect example, for the longest time, people believed that the world was flat. Now people believe that the world is round. It's not that either. It's not that either. What's important is the perception and how you're viewing the world. I'm inviting you this morning to start to take a look at how the perceptions were put in place and how can we consciously make a decision to start putting the perceptions aside and creating new ones for ourselves. So going back to my analogy, as I was saying, I believed that money brings problems. So what happens? Every single month, I always have just enough money to pay the bills. Every month I say, this is the month that I'm going to get back on track, and something always happens. There's always something that occurs to reinforce the perception that money brings problems, therefore I don't need it. So as I start to look at that, and everyone on here watching me knows that I'm in, building a business, that I'd like to have money. Why? Because money does not bring problems. Money can bring solutions. Money is just a concept. But what I didn't realize for myself was that my perception of money was ruling the show when it came to that area of my life. I've always said to myself, I probably just am never going to be successful in the area of money. But I also look over my life, and everything that I've ever set my mind to, I've accomplished. So there's no reason to believe I can't do that in the area of money. But there had to be some psychological block that was causing me to do it. So I start to take a look. What do? I look, I analyze it, I figure it out. Most important part that people are not willing to do for themselves is to get the impact of what that perception was doing for them in their minds. When you get the impact of how that perception has throttled you, has given you the way that you see the world, then you have this opening for action. You have the opportunity to change your perception. You have the ability to look around, see the world in a completely different way, and move forward from there. The invitation this morning is simple. Let's start to take a look at your perceptions. Let's look at it in all areas. What do you think about money? What do you think about relationships? What do you think about your parents? What do you think about your job? If you don't like the way that the world is going, change your point of view. A new context gives new life to the content it encompasses. Change the way that you look at something, and what you're looking at will absolutely change. My intention through these videos is very, very simple. If I can get one person to see the world in just a little bit different way, if that new way of viewing the world actually altered their experience of life, I've done my job. I hope that person is you this morning. Thank you once again for your time. I acknowledge you, I honor you, and I'll see you at the top.